Good morning. Happy Sunday, 7:30 a.m. Just like normal. But am I tired today? Woo! Yesterday was a very, very, very long day, but a great one. A very great day indeed. Good morning, Mr. Gugahan. I am so glad to see you here today. More coffee? Indeed. Mm. It was very good to see you yesterday, Diane. I'm so glad you were able to make it. Oh, but I'm so tired. I didn't get home till after 1 a.m. What a wonderful day, though. Ooh, up yesterday, had a live stream for 2 hours. Got done with the live stream, hopped in a car, drove 3 hours, 3 hours. Whoo, 3 hours with Jackie, Jennifer Lucas, and Charlie, Darth Carnivore, Jackie's Keto Journey, and Jennifer Lucas. We all packed into my car and we drove to Elkhart, Indiana. Now, that's 3 hours from central Indiana. And we went to a pretty nice restaurant. The restaurant was called Smokin' Fatties, the basically meat, just a barbecue joint up near the Michigan, Indiana border, to hang out with a bunch of really lovely people, as always. Though the special occasion this time was Joe and Rachel were in attendance. Um, they were in Elkhart or are in Elkhart to pick up a new travel trailer. So, oh, indeed, indeed. Oh, let's see. Sherry says that she was going to go fishing this morning, but it's too cold. Did have a very nice day yesterday. Yes, yes, indeed. And I wasn't really. I mean, it was nice. That the art was nice. They had like paintings of like rock stars on the wall, like old school, like Bob Marley and Beatles and all kinds of cool stuff. And we were basically there open to close. They opened at 4 p.m. and closed at 10, and we got there at 3:30. We got an early start, which works out to our benefit. You're going to drive that distance. You want to make sure you're setting yourself up for success and any traffic or anything that you may run into. So we got there nice and early. We were there when they opened the doors. We got in. A lot of people already waiting to go in with us, and then uh, Joe and Rachel came in. They're doing great. We had a lot of fun sitting and talking with them. Um, like I said, we closed the place down last night because they closed at 10. We probably didn't stay till 10. We got about 9:45, but yeah, I am super tired today. Driving and doing all that stuff like and just like driving, being awake all day, and the social aspect of it is quite a bit, just for the fact that um I mean, most of the time I'm just hanging out with Chandra and our granddaughter and not like a whole bunch of people. So I mean, it is kind of a muscle that doesn't get used very often, right? So yeah, it was draining, but in such a wonderfully fabulous way. Like, but I just got home and I like was gone, like, and then I didn't even, Chandra woke me up this morning and was like, "Whoo!" It was like I was out and up. And I'm like, "Oh, I'm probably gonna take a nap after this." But Jen is here. Good morning. Thank you so much for being here. I think you're in both places. All right. Good morning, Brian. Thank you so much for being here. Jeff Foltz, thank you for being here. Well, but yesterday, like I said, it was so much fun. I had a little bit of video. I did just some video of everybody who was there. Just it's probably about 2 minutes worth of video, but I haven't had a chance to cut it and edit it and get it up here so people can see it. Oh, I gotta take the audio out because there's the one thing about the restaurant is they did have a lot of music playing, so I couldn't take a lot of video or anything like that, or gotta get people's conversations or anything like that. So it just makes it difficult to put that kind of stuff up on the up on here because they'll just cut it out or whatever. You'll get copyright claimed and all that stuff. Yeah, I mean, I had a wonderful time. Um, John's asking how many people showed up. I think we had like 28 people show up, which is fab. I mean, for a last minute, like really 2 days to kind of put it all together, get a reservation, and get it out to everybody who wanted to be there. Yeah, it's a really good turnout. We had people coming from Wisconsin, Chicago, Michigan, all over Indiana. We had people coming from Ohio. So I mean, it was a wonderful, wonderful day. Oh yeah, I'm sure he is. He still had a 45-minute drive from my house. Um, so did Jackie. Jackie lives about 35 minutes from my house, and so does Charlie. So they all met at my house yesterday. Then we went and picked up Jennifer, and then we got on the road. And then when we got back to my house, I dropped them off at their cars at my house, and then took Jennifer home. So yeah, I imagine none of them are going to be awake. I even contemplated not doing the live this morning. I was just like, oh, but you got to do it. You have to do it. I'm so glad. It was a lot of fun. I mean, it was nice to get the chance to talk to you. I'd seen you at other events before and hadn't had an opportunity to really talk to you, so that was really nice and fun. And I appreciate you guys, coming out and being so personable and all that. So yeah, I mean, it really just fell together. I mean, it wasn't that difficult. The one thing that I stressed about the most was making sure that everybody who needed to know or would want to know knew. Um, we just happened to come across the right place. They were accommodating. I mean, they were super accommodating. Like, literally, we were there. Most of us were open to close, and we had one server. She was great, and yeah, I hope everybody tipped her well. I hope everybody took care of her because, I think we were really her only table for the whole night, I think. Mm. Yeah, so well that's kind of really what was going through my head too. I was like, I can sleep in or I can go back to bed after I get Shander out the door to go to work, and I can miss this live, but I didn't want to. I mean, the urge to go back to bed was strong indeed, but I can talk to you guys for an hour or whatever, and I can go back and lay down. I have stuff to do today. We're having family dinner tonight. There's a surprise for the wife tonight. We've got somebody coming over that has been gone and gone for a while. She's not going to see this before. She's not going to see any of this until after everything of the events tonight. But we have kind of like a bonus kid, and he's been in the military and he's been like stationed in like Guantanamo and all that stuff. And he's coming to dinner tonight and bringing his wife, and we haven't met her yet. So because of it, like he went out to the military like just as like the pandemic was happening, like right before the pandemic was really happening, and then everything's been going on, and since then he's had a baby and he got married and all this stuff, and been in the military and been living in other states and being moving around. We haven't had a chance to see him. Like he was friends with our kids and was just around all the time. So basically a bonus kid. That's barely how I look at the kids because the kids had friends over all the time and in high school, middle school. So they basically become like bonus kids to us. And and we haven't seen him just because he's been in the military. So I'm really excited to have him over for dinner tonight. And Chandra doesn't really know, or she'll forget. I don't know, but she won't see this until she won't listen to this until maybe next week sometime. She gets behind like a week or two behind on videos and listens to her own stuff, and I don't think she necessarily listens to everything that I do. It's probably for the best, but yeah, I would have missed you too, Mister Gugahan. But it was a wonderful time. And one of the questions that I was asking to Rachel last night was how they felt, and maybe you guys can chime in too. Um, how people feel, kind of how like the community is kind of like, and maybe I don't know whether or not anyone has noticed it, but it seems like it's more like splitting more and more and more, like carnivore over here, and then like strict here, and and like everybody's kind of going off and off, and they kind of think that their way is the best way, and and realistically, I mean, realistically, if you're going to break it down, what you're doing is probably the best for you. What I'm doing right now is best for me right now, and then like because with anything that we're doing, how I started, like, net carbs worked until they didn't. And incorporating more and more keto treats worked until it didn't. And you start to find things, you start to find things that work different for you. And then, but I think that we're stronger together as a community. I mean, just as an example, yesterday, how everybody came together and it was a wonderful time, and people stopped and made, and maybe canceled plans and drove 3 hours to come and hang out at a drop of a hat, literally within 2 days, even though we had one of the things, like, like we had mentioned that it was going to be possible, but, you know, that's just one of the things. Yeah. And I know, John, that it's kind of under that proper human diet spectrum, but I think that that starts to fracture even still, because you have, and in my kind of way of looking at it, is like no matter what you're doing, like basically if you're doing carnivore, ketovore, there's all a ketogenic aspect into this, where there's going to be ketones, and realistically looking to find the best way to be flexible with the body. So finding that metabolic flexibility, because to me that's key. Um, and basically finding the best way to keep my health in check, to keep my uh, food addiction in check, and keep keep continuing to work on myself. And to me, without all of you, it wouldn't be possible. And with all of you, there's carnivores in here, there's keto, there's probably there's maybe just low carb people that come in and hang out here. And that's paramount to me, because I don't even, to me, like, even if you were on Weight Watchers, I don't care. Whatever you're doing to try to benefit yourself and move yourself forward is welcome here, because I mean, really, what are we trying to do? We're trying to be a beacon for people to do better. We're trying to be a beacon to make sure that people are exploring who they are, what their best health can be, and all that stuff. So that, to me, like, that's one thing that every once in a while, it kind of starts to worry me, as I see, like, like the carnivore, like people, the carnivore click, and all this stuff, and everybody starts to. It just kind of sometimes to me seems like it's fractured, and maybe it's just me being a worrier. One of the things that I inherited from my mother is how to worry like a professional. So I'm a professional worrier about things. So, but that's why, I mean, that's why we get together here, and we get together and we talk, and we can hash out ideas, and you know, um, and John says he watches all the channels and take what works. So yeah, yeah. I mean, because realistically, for for some people, we're gonna have people who are abstainers, people who are moderators, people who can do There's the people who and for reality can eat like whatever they want and maintain a and go back and forth and do whatever and they're successful. And there's people who can and can't, and there's people who can eat broccoli and people who can't, and people who will, won't ever even use pepper or whatever. But I think we're all in this together, and I think we're stronger together because that's the one thing that concerns me about everything is if we're moving forward trying to ensure that the whole or the population as a whole is strong, then we have to work together. Doesn't matter. We can't carnivore sitting over here and all that. Like we can't do it that way. And I'm not saying that it's like rampant or anything like that, but just little things that I kind of see and I kind of figure if we can, continue and keep the dialogue open, then we will maintain that cohesive community that I'm striving to ensure grows. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm just like I said, I'm a worrier. I got that from my mom and my grandma. They taught me how to worry really good. So, good morning. Dude, listen, he's like, I'm sorry I missed Elkhart. What people don't know is he's like 13 hours from Elkhart. I would have loved for you to be there 1000%. But I understand. I understand why you were not there. You can't just drop everything within like 48 hours and drive 12 plus hours to get somewhere. It just doesn't work, you know? Good morning, Evelyn. You were missed, dear. You were missed. And Brian says the only worry is when none of it seems to work. Well, and I think like, and that's the kind of thing we play around with, with what we do for ourselves and we start to find what works. And I just want to make sure that we are, in fact, like encouraging others to do the same, but encouraging them in a way that allows them to explore what's going to work best for them and not just kind of get into a situation where what I'm doing is a blanket for everybody else. Because we just know that's not the case. Some people, like I say, can get, some people are going to be just fine and can handle having, the maltitol and all that stuff. And they're fine. They have no issues whatsoever. And or, then some people just have to maintain that meat and salt. That's just what they have to do. And that's sustainable for them. And I just want to make sure that we are supportive and we are understanding and we are providing that community and building strong relationships with people within our community or outside of our community, regardless of where they are in their personal journey, and whether or not they've decided to go more plant-based or have, more whatever. Because I mean, there's going to be people who are having a giant aversion to meat. I know a lot of people that just can't eat it. They just don't want to. They have no taste for it. And I imagine they could learn, but think about what that sounds like. It's like you could learn to like it. Well, sure, I could probably learn to like a lot of things. I'm sure I could learn to love, polka music every day, but doesn't mean I'm going to. I don't know. That's just kind of where I just want to make sure that we're, there's my goal is to make sure that we're all like a big family. And so far we're doing a wonderful job and just want to always make sure that we're continuing to do that. So let's see here. John says, I'm now incorporating extended fast in my diet once a week, so I'm tending to watch vids with people who fast. Last week I did a 65-hour fast starting tomorrow, I will try 72-hour fast. Well, that's wonderful. Now just make sure that you're not doing too many too often. because I kind of figure that, like what I was doing when I started doing this was when I started doing fasting, I, in the very beginning, I was doing like 12 hours a day, which doesn't even really constitute a fast, right? But, as someone who has extreme food addiction issues and was extremely overweight and had never really been able to have any kind of control over your hunger, you have to start. You have to start where you start, 12 hours. And then over a few months, I moved to 14 hours. And in a few months, maybe a month or two, I slowly started to pop that to 16 hours, then 18 hours. And then I kind of fell into this like kind of like a 20-hour kind of spot where I was like a 4-hour eating window. And that really kind of fit my lifestyle because it was something that I was able to work myself around or work into my life to make my life easier. And I would then begin to start, and I did like a 24-hour fast one time, and then I did a 30 or a 36, and then eventually I got to bid where I could do 48, and I was able to do those and basically began to be able to leverage those to use them when I needed. And I don't necessarily know for myself if fasting that much a week is beneficial to me. And maybe it could be. And maybe you'll find that it works really well for you. But I'm really curious to, as you do this, I'm sure you will hopefully provide me information and let me know how that's going. But I would always just stress that you don't have to push it too far. It's like what I try to tell my son who goes into the gym and he's trying to pump that weight up every time he goes to the gym. You don't have to, you don't have to keep going up 20 pounds on the bar every time you go in. I mean, eventually you're just gonna get to the point where, yeah, you think you can do it and something will pop. And you just gotta slow and steady is gonna win that race. So, like I said, I 65 hours isn't going to be, that much of an issue. 72 hours isn't much of an issue. Um, because I'm planning to do another 7-day fast. I did one to start the year, and I'm planning to do one in June. It just depends. I was thinking of starting one the day after my birthday, but I guess there's a meetup somewhere in Ohio on the 29th. I'm just have to look and see how all that will place together. But I am planning somewhere to try to do another 7-day fast. And I don't necessarily fast. Yeah, I mean, I don't do like that kind of because I'm home all the time, and it just seems to be a little more difficult for me. So maybe I should be a little more strict with myself on that. Maybe so that's I kind of look inward on and see how I feel about it. I mean, I don't typically eat until like most days till like 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And then just depends on how I feel that day. If I continue to eat into the night, then sometimes because I try not to eat late because it happens and I will eat late and then I'm miserable all night because I ate too late. And then like that's sitting on you and like you go to bed and you're laying there. You know what I mean? I don't know. But I am proud of you for doing that and exploring that, and I wanna know how that continues to go, but I would like I said, just I wouldn't push it much past 72 hours for a little while, just to kinda get yourself used to it. Because I know people typically wanna get to a point where they're like, "I can fast 7 days, and I just started fasting a week ago." I just that's my thing is to make sure people are doing things as safely as possible. Oh, 10 hours. Okay. That's still crazy. And that's still a lot to go within 2 days notice. We would have loved to have had you and we understand, but I totally understand that making that was logistically not possible. So Brian's saying that he keeps creeping more towards carnivore and things just and seems to be getting worse. So, and what do you mean by getting worse? So you feel like um, are you feeling like you're not eating enough? Are you eating too much? Or you feel like you're gaining weight? Like, are you adding more fat in, or like going more protein sparing, or what kind of things are you doing? I'm just curious. I want to do one a week for the month of April. Oh yeah, that makes total sense. That's it. And that's a good goal to try, because especially when you're trying to push the limit. I understand that. But me, I'm always like, again, I'm a worrier. My mom would be so proud. Oh, my ladies are here. Or at least Robin is here. I don't know if Callie's here or not. I know they don't. To me, they live together and they're like best friends and they're like always hanging out. And I know they live and they live in opposite states. But to me, you guys are always hanging out and are hanging out together. Matt Franklin is here. Ooh, you're working at Disney's Beach Club Resort today. I haven't been to that one. I haven't had a chance to go to all the resorts. We finally, when we went and had Ohana breakfast. I wish that wasn't so expensive, but I understand. Like, when we even had to pay to get a reservation. We went through a reservation service because I tried to get reservations and they were just couldn't get them. And so I went to a reservation service and paid like $8 or something like that. And they alerted me when the reservations would pop up, and I went and made it a reservation for like 9:30 one of the days we were there, one of our off park days. I think we did that, and then we went to like and went and hung out in Disney Springs. But yeah, that was a wonderful breakfast. I love going around the resorts and stuff. Like, I've got a I we stayed at Pop Century once, and I've been able to kind of look around at the Polynesian, and I've been able to kind of go around and look around the Contemporary, but I haven't had a chance to really look at other resorts or the boardwalk. We did kind of hang out at the boardwalk one day, and looked around, and then we got on a boat and went to Hollywood Studios. Chris Cook in Nashville is here. Hello, sir. Thank you for joining us. I hope you are doing wonderful this morning. Oh, had a wonderful day yesterday. Hung out with two crazy ketos and a bunch of amazing other people that are in the chats today. Um, Evelyn says that meetup on June 29th is in Eaton and hosted by Susan and Andy. It's going to be good. I'm going to try to go. Initially, I wasn't so sure. I still kind of need to talk to Shander about it, because we had initially planned to be in Wisconsin for the 4th of July, because they do a 3rd of July celebration in Milwaukee. And we like to go hang out with her sister and brother in law and nieces and nephews, and go hang out and do all that stuff. But they're going to be out of the country like right after the 4th. So they're not going to be able to host us this year. So we're going to figure something else out. Um, and we so I might see about doing the 29th. Unfortunately, if it's a Saturday, which is probably a Saturday, Shannon won't be able to go, as I know. And it's so lovely that everybody always asks about her, especially when we're at the meetups. And Joe and Rachel both asked about her and everything. And like, and it bugs her that she can't be there. But like I said, she only gets 4 days off a year, so she can take like a combination of 4 Saturdays and Sundays off a year. So like she could take two of her days would be a Saturday, Sunday, and that's half of her PTO for the year. So it becomes very difficult, because we have to utilize those days for emergencies or planning like family vacations and such. So Brian says that he hasn't made it over 24 hours yet. Yeah, I mean, it just takes time, and that's my advice. And not re- and that's not necessarily advice, because I'm not giving any kind of medical advice or anything like that. But for me, slow and steady is how I did it. Like I said, I literally started with 12 hours, and I did that until 14 hours made sense, and I did that until 16 hours made sense, and then I did that until 18 hours made sense. And we're talking about a year timeline here to kind of get from 12 to 15, 14, 16 hours. And then 2 years into it, I was doing, 20 hours, but I didn't rush it because I don't think it benefits anyone to try. Like, if you get hungry, eat. Listen, that's the whole point of all of this, is to kind of get to a place where you're understanding your body, you're understanding, and you can understand and hear and listen to the signals that your body's giving. Because for so long, I was just hungry all the time, and I didn't really have any satiety signaling. I didn't understand. Like, I couldn't, like, when I was full, I had to wait till my stomach was like, ah, before I would stop eating. And there was no signaling outside of pain. And I think that's where, this stuff is so beneficial, is we need to, slow it down and not be in any rush. Like, I've been doing this 8 years and I'm in no rush. I still feel great. And it helps me day to day. Kind of, it helps me maintain, the food addictions and all that stuff. So, I mean, I'm not perfect and I'm still going to be a food addict forever, but I mean, it helps me maintain and it helps me keep control over it. I have a tight grasp on the reins, but it'll get away from me sometimes. But we just know we're doing better every day. And Matt's saying, a tip for Disney dining reservations: keep checking the availability up to a couple hours before. You can get lucky with dining. We've gotten dining on the same day. Yeah, and I know, I just wanted to make sure, since we don't get to go very often. I wanted to make sure we were going to get to go on an off day, on an off park day. So, and I mean, for me, like, just the reassurance that we had the reservation in advance was calming, really. So, um, I mean, just knowing we had the reservation before we ever got there, like, I don't know if I could have handled not having, at least, because we at least want to do one character dining while we were there. I don't know if we'll do another one. Probably will, because we'll take the girl back again, and she loves the characters, as I do too. I mean, I'm a huge Disney fanatic. I just know that hopefully we won't take the whole family again, because I mean, that's a chunk of change right there. That's like half a mortgage payment. Um, and Chris is at work. Well, I'm glad you have a situation where you can listen and interact while at work, because, that's good. And I'm glad you're here. Let's see, what is so Robin's curious how long you've been doing the keto diet. Something you might be they have the keto flu, or you drinking electrolytes. I think he's been doing it for a while, since May of 22. Yeah. And Chris is saying that, I love that you're not in a rush. I'm not either. Beating my carb addiction and binge eating was so much more important than trying to force myself to lose weight or hit random markers for no point. Right, 100%. Because I think, and early on in my thing, it was a weight loss goal. I mean, I started for the weight loss. I mean, that's what got me here. Weight loss is what got me in the door. Everything else is what keeps me here. And even with the weight loss, I was never really concerned with how fast I was losing, as long as I was still trending downward. And I still never really weighed myself all that much. Um, because I know how difficult it can be. Like, if you get on a scale and something doesn't go your way, because I know I was going to the gym like in 2010, and going to the gym like all the time, but I was slowly trying to eat better. What I was thinking was better, which was more, probably more like low fat, whatever. But I wasn't aware, obviously. But the scale is, I would get on the scale once a week at the gym, and I'd be like, it's only this, or I only lost this, or I'm only down this. And that really weighed on me. That I've only and it's so hard to break that mindset, that I've only lost 2 pounds this week, or I only lost a pound this, or heaven forbid, I gained a pound this week. But it's so devastating mentally, even for those who are seasoned at it and understand how the body, because I've done fasting where I've gained like 5 pounds on the last day of fasting, like complete water fasting. I'll lose, and then gain on the last day. And even then, I understand what's going on, but my body's my brain, my mentality is like, so so there's no point in being in a hurry. And I hope that we can all like kind of get to that happy place where we're just not just going through the motions, but getting it to where it's not such a burden of the mind where we're constantly thinking about something. Like I love the fact that now that I can make food for my granddaughter in the morning and I'm not really all that hungry. But if I felt hungry, then I would go ahead and make me something too. Um, like just the other day, I was like, I'm kind of hungry. So I made some food, had like, a few bites, ate about not even a quarter of it. And I was like, I'm not hungry anymore. And part of me was disappointed because the food was so good. I made burger patties and scrambled eggs and they were delicious. But I was just like, ah, I'm not here yet. I guess I wasn't as hungry as I thought. And sometimes I think we kind of get confused with that. Am I hungry or do I feel like I should just eat? And sometimes you have to kind of overrule that and go, well, I probably should eat because if I don't eat now, then I'll be hungry later, then I'll eat late, and then I'll be miserable tonight. Because it's hard sometimes to go, well, it's too late to eat. I'll just eat in the morning. Even though I probably would feel better doing that. I don't know. So that's just like, I mean, every day is kind of a new way of looking at things and a new opportunity to look at things differently. So Robin is telling Brian, electrolytes are key if you're not drinking them daily. Some people some people do just fine without them. Some people need electrolytes multiple times a day. Sometimes, I mean, it just depends on how you like. If you're drinking electrolytes and you feel funny, then maybe you don't need to drink as much. Or if you don't drink them and you feel funny, maybe you should drink some more. But experimentation, I think, is key here. And I don't know. I mean, if you're feeling like you're not feeling your best doing just like carnivore, add in some broccoli. You know what I mean? Maybe a little onion and broccoli or some Brussels sprouts, or and see how you feel. Does that make you feel better? I mean, realistically, just listening, trying to learn what path makes you feel good. Like we don't eat vegetables every day. But there are nights where I'm just like, I'm making broccoli tonight because I want it so bad. And that messes with my head. Do you know how bad it messes with my head that I crave broccoli? I didn't even have broccoli but one time as a child and didn't even really eat broccoli until we really start enjoying broccoli until we were doing this diet or this lifestyle, rather. It's so hard to get the word diet out of your brain. It just keeps popping up. But um, yeah. Um, but and even because I mean, I guess I'd had broccoli, one time or tried it a few times, but, like, the sulforaphane would just really impact me and I could taste it. So, like, I gotta cook it in a lot of butter, and I'm almost one of those people that, like, I don't want my broccoli too crispy, I need it to be a little mushy, which is Chandra hates that because she likes so I have to cook hers more, like, steamed, and then I'll let mine and I'll pull some out for her, and then I'll keep cooking mine, you know? And let's see. Chris is saying that losing 130 pounds has been amazing. Now I'm glad to slowly work towards my final goal and be free of my food issues for the first time ever. Yeah, I mean, I had initially lost like about 150 pounds, went from like 420 pounds down to about 273, give or take somewhere in that neighborhood. And then I switched jobs, and in the middle of switching that job, like after I switched jobs, and like the pandemic was like shortly thereafter, it was like less than a year after. And then I kind of like the pandemic was a thing when I gained a considerable amount back. I was still about 100 pounds down, but still, I think I probably got close to 350 at one point in time, which was devastating. And I just worked and worked to try to get back to where we are now. I'm probably around 300 ish. I don't weigh all that often. But yeah, like for me, the weight isn't so much as important as me finding a way to be consistent and maintaining the control over my food issues. I don't think the food issues will ever go away. It's a constant daily battle with emotions and dealing with emotional triggers and understanding how like that all plays into it. And it's going to be probably something I deal with until the end of my end of my days. Let's see here. Brian says, I eat meat, use daily minerals in my morning coffee, and element or salty 1 or 2 times per day. Okay. And I mean, like realistic. I mean, it just depends on how are you feeling. If you're not feeling your best, then I would, like I said, maybe add some more fat, maybe some vegetables, all that fun stuff. Matt says next time when at Disney, be sure to hit character buffet or breakfast. Lots of keto friendly options. Well, that was what was good about Ohana. It's basically all you care to eat. They keep bringing it to you. Plenty of plenty of sausage and eggs and all that stuff. So, but that pog juice, I'll tell you, and I know I shouldn't have had it, but it was one of the like it was the one time in my life I'll get a chance to have it. So I was like, "Yep, I'm going with that." And Chris is asking me, he's asking, what's the biggest struggle you still work to improve? For me, it's still fighting the tendency to overeat, even if full, or to eat when I'm not actually hungry because it's fun. I still struggle with that as well. Um, it's an ebb and flow. Like there's times where I just won't want to eat, and then there's times where I just want to eat everything. And I think coming from a place where I was with such extreme amounts of food that I would eat. Like I would eat until I literally felt like I was going to burst. Like if anybody's seen the Monty Python movie, as I'm trying to think about it, it's the Monty Python movie. Let me look up and see what it is because I'm having trouble here. Um, let me see. The meaning of life. So Monty Python's meaning of life, like the ending scene is this large gentleman and he's in a restaurant and he's eating all this food and eating and eating and eating and eating and eating and he gets so stuffed and then like the maitre d is like just one little wafer thin mint and he eats it and explodes. And that's basically how I felt all the time when I would eat. And one thing that I've kind of leveraged with keto and carnivore is, depending on how I'm feeling, whether it's having broccoli that day or not, and just eating like meat and eggs or whatever. Um, um, I leverage it because it still kind of allows me to like it allows me to eat and not feel restricted, and I don't really worry too much about calories as much. More so, I'll look at calories as kind of a guide, like just kind of like macros, kind of in a way. Like, am I, I mean, I don't want to obviously do 7,000 calories in a day, but I also want to make sure I'm not doing just 1,000 or 1,500 in a day. As I don't necessarily think that calories are the end all be all. I think it's a combination of calories as well as the food that we're eating, and I don't think I don't think a calorie is a calorie, regardless of what a lot of people will argue about. But I mean, I'm no doctor, so I mean that's just my opinion. But I mean, it's a struggle, and I look at it like if I'm going to have issues and if I'm going to eat and overeat, it's like a weird compromise that I'm doing so with like, like hamburger patties and eggs, or if I'm like feeling like I really, really want to eat a lot, then I'll maybe make some boiled eggs and leverage that. Because then if I'm stuffed with those things, then it's a lot harder to go for even the keto treats or whatever, or go for things that I shouldn't have. So I've utilized this way of eating to play into my strengths and my weaknesses. So if I have those urges to overeat, then I'm making sure that I'm making the best choices possible, and it's less likely to have a negative impact, if that makes any sense. And I know that's not necessarily going to be something that works for everyone. With like I said, there's people who can moderate. There's people who can eat two Oreos and put the package away and be fine and not even think about them for like another week. I am not that person. I'm also not a person who can abstain completely from things. I have to kind of give myself something to look forward to, because if I look at something, I'm never eating that again in my life that I enjoy, then I think then there's a mental breakdown that happens there as well. So I think leveraging and understanding yourself um, is so paramount there, because taking the time to do the deep dive, like if anybody watches kind of the live that I did yesterday with my friend John, we kind of just get into that. He's a newly appointed personal life coach, and we were talking about things and how to like start digging into yourself and kind of finding out like the root causes of some of like emotional issues that we have. And I know where mine come from. I especially my overeating tendencies come from my mom. She was terrified that we wouldn't get enough food to eat. So, and the fact that she was afraid we weren't going to eat enough, she would make not make us eat, but she would load our plates down and then be, like we need to be in the clean plate club type thing. And, you know, I know she was doing it out of a place of love and, trying to make sure she was able to provide for us. And yeah, let's see. Mushy broccoli is best. Dinner mint. Yes. And Chris is saying, same here. I used to eat until basically sick. I binge eat embarrassing amounts of food. Definitely relate to the money on skid. Yes, 1000%. Like, oh, it was bad. And I would do like food hidey things. So like I would do weird things, right? I would eat in my room. Like this is before Shannon and I got together, or even after we were together. I was still kind of living here and taking care of my grandma and stuff. And so I would be spending a couple nights a week over with my grandma to make sure she wasn't lonely. And I would just make like ridiculous amounts of food for me. And I still kind of do. I've just shifted it to foods that don't impact me the same way. So I mean, and I still find myself sometimes making an exorbitant amount of food, but then I don't eat it all. And like one thing that I was talking about last week or the week before, we had gone and taken our boy to get something for his birthday for dinner, and he wanted this barbecue place that didn't really look appetizing to us, and we ended up getting pizza, like real pizza, and I got a large pizza. And while that may not have been the best choice. It was an interesting experience because where I probably would have eaten that entire pizza in one day or one sitting, I it took me, I think, 3 days to eat the pizza. So while that may not have been that was 3 days I was eating pizza, and it was 3 days that I was sort of off plan, it was still an interesting it was still interesting to me because to show sort of how far I have come with that type of food where I wasn't able to consume the large extreme quantities that I used to be able to. So it was kind of fascinating and empowering to see that I have grown to where I once would have eaten that entire large, ridiculous pizza. And now I was not able to do that anymore. And I was fine. Like I'd have like 3 slices or 3 slices and then 3 slices over 3 days. Like one day, maybe I had 4 slices or something like that, where that wouldn't have done anything for me. I would have had to eat the whole pizza and then been like, ooh, what else is there? So I think I could have in that situation beat myself up and I could have been down on myself, and I kinda was, because I mean, you kinda feel like shit when you eat pizza, like real pizza, and you're not used to it. It's not part of your daily routine, or even if you do it, you do, but you don't realize that's what's causing it. And I was able to find a positive in that because there is growth there. There is a change going on inside of me. So and I am, yeah, and, yeah, Pog Juice. I had to look up Pog Juice. We have an MP in common. We have Monty Python in common. I don't want any spam. I don't like spam. I love Monty Python. They're so good. 18 watching, only 10 likes. And Chris is saying, thank you so much. He's like, thank you for sharing as a big guy who is a binge eater. It's very encouraging to not feel alone in that. Oh, 100%. It's so wonderful to know that there are things that I went through that others have gone through. Um, like Chris, if you're not from, I mean, you may or may not be familiar with a gentleman named Mike Gorman. He goes by Gormy. Uh, like his nickname is Gormy. Gormy does keto. He's on Instagram. I think he has like the Fat Guy podcast. He's an interesting person to listen to as well because there was things that I've learned from him, and to know that I didn't even know that there was things that he's done that I didn't even know about. Right, like I have like this in the bottom of my sternum. It kind of pops out a little bit, and it didn't used to be that way. And I was like, well, that's weird. And I was asking, Chandra about it. She goes, I don't think that's a thing. And then I was listening to him, and it caused from being overweight for a long time. Your sternum can deform, and I'm like, I didn't even know that was possible. And then I find out like it feels weird to me, and he's got the same thing. So it's like it's so good to know that I'm not crazy, at least from that. And I mean that's what this community is so important, is that you're not alone. And that was, you know, Evelyn can attest that she's not alone, and I can attest that I'm not alone, and Chris, you're finding out that you're not alone, and that's so very important, and that's why I want to build this community where we're not factioning ourselves into carnivore, keto, and splitting ourselves apart, and we're all encouraging each other and trying to help each other problem solve, issues like with with Brian. He was saying he's eating primarily carnivore, but he doesn't feel like it's the best. He keeps leaning that way, but he doesn't feel like it's the best for him. And that's what when we can be here. We can't tell him what to do, but we can tell him how to troubleshoot or things he might want to try to see what is it. How does this work? You know, if you're eating primarily meat and you don't feel like you're feeling your best, then there's add broccoli in, or maybe some cheese, or you never know. Maybe some fermented kimchi or something. I don't know. There's all kinds of things we can play around with. And it's so wonderful because I never feel anymore that one, that I don't feel like that I have to hide anything. Like, I want to be as transparent as I can because like if I felt that I couldn't be honest, like, like when I had that pizza, if I felt that I couldn't talk to you all about that and share that experience with you, then I feel that I'm failing at doing this because I think this is so important to be open and honest and share those things that we never would talk about. Because those things that we don't want to talk about are the most important things that other people may be struggling with. Thank you. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. And that's just one of those happy bonuses that's kind of come out of this community. Like, cause when I started keto and all this stuff, I was on Instagram. I hadn't started a YouTube account yet. I didn't start this YouTube account until 2020. Um, and even in 2020, I was one video, and then I didn't put anything else out till January 1st, 2021. So between 2021 and now, almost everything that's up as that's when it came from. Even though I've had the channel since 2020, a friend of mine helped me set it up and helped me get the first video up because I had no idea what I was doing. But I never felt that there was enough community in Instagram. There were people that would follow you when you would see the people who would like and comment, but it never felt the same. Like there wasn't a growth in community as there is here with YouTube. And I think it's so fascinating, like. And let's see, Brian says, I just don't want to discourage anyone that is not getting results. I believe in what we are doing, even if it's not personally. So that's the thing. Like Chandra, when we started, it took her 6 months of legitimate struggles. I think the her hormones were so out of whack for so long that when we started doing keto, it took her body like a legitimate 6 months to kind of find a rhythm, and it was it was excruciating for her. And the fact that she stuck with it for me, I mean, let's be honest. She stuck with it because if she would have stopped, I probably would have stopped too. And we wouldn't be having this conversation. And I think for Brian, I think just taking a step back, looking at why are you not getting the results you're looking for? And I don't know how much you're eating. I don't know how often you're eating. I don't know. Like we know you're getting primarily meat and you're getting electrolytes a few times a day. Maybe you're not eating enough. Maybe you need more variety. I mean, because I don't think that necessarily carnivore is for everyone. And even Sean Baker has said that carnivore isn't for everyone. Keto isn't for everyone. It's not going to be sustainable for everyone. Because regardless of our biology, there's a mental aspect to it as well. Because just because it might be the right diet for humans doesn't mean every human is going to be able to stick to it, especially as kind of how astray we've been for the last like 100 years. And I think we have to give each other grace. We have to give each other support and in a journey. Like, if Brian was like, you know what, I think this keto thing isn't going to work for me or carnivore, I'm going to go do Weight Watchers or I'm going to try vegan or something like that, I'd be like 100%. If that's what you need to try to find success, you have my 100% support. Because to me, you finding what works best for you is all I can hope for. I am not good enough. I haven't played in a long time, like consistently. So um, I will clap, but I haven't been on stage in like almost 30 years. Yeah. So I haven't played guitar in front of anybody who's not five in a long time, and even then, it's just a couple of like chord. Yeah, that's as much as I would love that. It just not going to be in the cards for me because I have not. I mean, I've got time to maybe get better, but I don't know if I have time in the time to get better. If that makes sense. Um, and let's see. It says you were not discouraging. This community is wonderful and always here for you. Yeah, I mean, and as I had there was a person in our community that was new to our community last year, and her husband were doing carnivore, and they were finding success, but I don't think it was sustainable for them, and or at least they hadn't found a way to make it sustainable for themselves, and they fell off, and we didn't hear from them for a while, and then she reached out to me, and she gave me all of her keto stuff, like almond flour and stuff. She's like, "Do you want it?" I'm like, "I'll take it." And it gave me an opportunity to talk with her. And she said that she was going to move in and start move in a direction of Weight Watchers. And 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 I was like, well, I hope you continue to be in this community. Because just because you're doing Weight Watchers doesn't mean you've let us down. You're trying to do something to better yourself. That's no bearing on what I think about Weight Watchers as a company. That has nothing to do with it. Because Weight Watchers as a company has nothing to do with this person that I have a connection with and have feelings and a rapport with. My primary reason for doing this is so people can get better and find out that they're not alone and can find things that work for them. Let's see. That's the thing. I eat 1,600 to 2,200 calories a day. Just depends on how I feel. My frustration is that it worked well for 16 months. Then it's gone downhill since October, back up 25 pounds. Well, just like, with me, like net carbs worked until they didn't. And as we move through a new lifestyle, our bodies change. And that's where we're lucky enough at this point. We are lucky enough to be in a community where we understand and you have our support here. And like just being able to try new things, add things in, take things back. Because I mean, maybe at 2,200, maybe you're not eating enough. I don't know. You might be active, and your body's like, well, you're active, and maybe you're burning 5 or 6,000 calories a day. Your body wants to do that, but it slows down with the burning of fat because you're maybe not putting enough fuel in. I don't think there's ever a time where if you're an active person, like working and all that stuff, where 1,600 to 2,200 calories is enough or too much. I should say too much. I don't know. I don't think that there's a way because even for my size, like 2,500 calories a day is probably the bare minimum of what I would need to take in just to maintain, just to function. So, so just got have you had your labs checked? And 2 weeks ago, and all exclamation mark. I mean, how's your stress? I mean, there's stress. Are you getting enough sleep? There's a lot more things involved here with stress markers, and especially with the A1C. You're saying your A1C is back up to 6.2. Stress and lack of sleep and the it can push your A1C up. It can cause your glucose to be high. So those are all factors to look at as well. Because you may be eating everything exactly the way you need to, but your stress is out of control. And I don't necessarily I don't know how to direct you in that, but and I'm definitely not an authority to direct you on that, but I think that would be something worth looking into. Like, you know, how can you relax? Or maybe you're not able to relax. I don't know. Um, I would say cutting calories is probably because I don't think eating 2,500 calories, like 2,200 calories a day, is causing inflammation markers to go through the roof or anything off the charts. And that doesn't make sense to me. And I don't think you're eating enough to cause your A1C to go up. It has to be stress and hormonal related. Um, but I mean, that might be a great question to sit down, like to go in and I don't know if you're a fan of Dr. Barry or anything like that. I know that he has the Mighty Networks and he does like the live chats a couple times a week, maybe. And I know the only downside of trying to reach out to Dr. Barry um, is the fact that you do have to do like super chats and stuff like that, or pay for Mighty Networks to get a question answered by him. I mean, if you've ever been in one of his live streams, it's pandemonium. It's like 5,000 people watching, and it's just like you can't even read the chat. It's going by so fast. So, mm, no snoring. Don't think you have stress. Because I know when I was, because I have sleep apnea, and that's a huge factor. That was a huge thing for me. And I mean, I didn't think I had a problem. I mean, outside of every once in a while, I'd wake up about to like puke up stomach acid or whatever. But um, yeah, and just the Dr. Barry group, I just never got an answer. I mean, and then there's other people too to reach out to. I mean, I know there's other people who are more accessible than he is too. Um, I think there's more to it here. I don't. I'm not the authority. It's as far as that stuff is concerned. Um, but there's it just to me, if you're eating primarily meat and you're not eating anything else, and you're eating like 20 some 100 calories a day, that doesn't seem to me like something that would cause your inflammation to go through the roof, or I don't know. I don't know. I know there's like Dr. Chafee, there's Dr. Boz, there's other people that can I don't I just want to make sure that you're getting the help. I understand, and that's exactly what we're here for. I don't think you're dominating the chat whatsoever. You're giving us something to talk about, and you're here. We're here to help you um any way that we can, and I mean it I just wish I had better answers because like I said, it doesn't seem like you're overeating. If anything, I would say you might be undereating. I don't know. Um, I don't know. Maybe I don't know how much fat intake you're getting. There's just a lot of things that I mean, is there iodine? I just don't know. Um, and I understand the frustration because Chandra and I deal with that all the time when she gets frustrated because she's been doing this as long as I have and hasn't really lost any weight, and she gets frustrated, but again, she continues to do it in support of me. So he's saying he's asked these questions in other places, but it seems that we all revert to the same things. Maybe I mean realistically, I don't know if you tried adding like for me, if I was having the situation, then maybe I would put in some like I would add broccoli back in. I don't know. I mean, honestly, it just depends on what your palate is. Are you eating eggs and do you care for vegetables? I don't know because some people it seems like it might help, but like I said, I don't know. I don't want to just be a person that's like grasping at straws. It seems like there's got to be something that I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Like you've had your panel run or whatever. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Did they do like a full hormonal panel? I know that there is a service that um I can't think of his name. He just had the thing in Vegas the other day, and it was like 2 weeks ago. Um, and he is an engineer working for, like, lean mass hyper responders and all that stuff. But he's got a thing, and maybe one of the mods in the chat can put the link for it in the chat. Um it's a place where you can go online and order your own labs, like mylabs.com or ownyourlabs.com, I think. Um yeah. And they can maybe run some see if there's any tests that could be run to see what's going on. Yeah, Dave Feldman. I don't know why I'm tired. Uh, um, could be a low grade infection. It could be a I mean, it very well could be. Um, I mean, and stresses on the body aren't always like mental stress too. I mean, you may have mental stress, but it could be like something that you've just been dealing with for so long you didn't realize it's stress anymore. I don't know. Um, I think 'cause I know that there's also a list of like general practitioners. Like maybe there may be one in your area you could sit down and talk with and kind of go over and put everything out on the table and see if they could help you too. Because I know your frustration runs deep, and I mean, and you're doing the right thing is coming and trying to get help and not just internalizing it. Um, you know, I because I don't I mean, honestly, I don't think there's anything that you're doing that could be causing that kind of a spike of like, you know, a diabet, like a diabetic range glucose, A1C. I just don't I don't it doesn't make sense to me, and it kind of boggles my brain because it's like all the things we're talking like, just like one of the things that Dr. Westman talked about at Low Carb for Better Health last year. I think it was him. He was talking about he had like a 600-pound patient, and for all intents and purposes, his metabolic health was impeccable. He was still 600 pounds. Like A1C was fine, blood pressure fine, everything fine, but he was still 600 pounds. Like, how does that make sense? And I think, like we are all different. Now, I don't know. I maybe, I mean, mix it. I don't know. Let's see. Steak and Butter Gal says once you're eating the way you should be and it relieves that problem, you can start to figure out other things your body needs to tell you. That is true too. Dr. Westman's program, and you've gained 15 pounds. Now, were you able to talk to Dr. Westman about this, or was it just a protocol you were doing that he had recommended? Because I'm sure that he would be curious about that as well. I would say, um, I've tried to get him to come onto my Saturday morning live stream, but I just haven't had it. He hasn't responded to me. Um, but it's very curious. Hmm. Been neglecting my coffee. Okay. Rise and shine, sleepyhead. Yeah, Darth Carnivore Charlie here hung out with us yesterday on the car ride there and back, and he got home even later than I did. Good man though. A lot of fun to hang out with. Um, I don't know. I it's starting to frustrate me because I'm like all the things that everybody puts our head. I mean, there's got to be a missing something missing that we're there's got to be something. Obviously, there's something missing. And now you've been doing this since 2022, and you said you've been going further and further carnivore, and then you're seeing more and more negative results. So I would go back to keto. I would try that. Give it a month or two, maybe 3 months, and see how that works. Add incorporate, maybe go back to, like more of a like and again, this is not advice. This is just what I would do if I was in your situation. Lower your protein intake, maybe. Uh maybe, I'm not crazy low. I would probably still try to get at least 100 grams of protein a day. I mean, I'm not sure how much you're getting right now. But add in more vegetables and that kind of stuff. Um, cabbage and all that fun stuff. Have a great day. Thank you for being here, dear. I hope to see you soon. Um, and the famous Sherlock Holmes line: "Once you eliminate the impossible, whatever remains, no matter how improbable, must be the truth." Perhaps it's something that has been overlooked. I mean, there has to be something that we're not seeing. Um, yeah, yeah. I just kind of think that, like, I don't necessarily, like I said, I don't think carnivore is for everybody, and not just for sustainability. I think some, we're all like just from different bloodlines, and we all like kind of like our bodies have adapted to different things, and like as much I feel good on carnivore. I do, but it's not sustainable for me because I still want broccoli and onions and things like that. And I know that if I push too hard and get to a point where I only allow myself to do just meat, eggs, and bacon and whatever, I'm going to be more likely to go down a path I don't want to go down. So I mean, that comes to me like yeah. I mean, that's just kind of how I look at it. So like, I would say, like, if you had success with keto and then, in the initial carnivore stage, I would kind of revert back to what worked. Go back to more keto. I mean, that would be what I would try. Modify it. Or, I mean, I kind of figure, let's see. Yesterday, yesterday was 2,102 calories, 137 grams of protein, 171 grams of fat, 6.6 carbs, and included a keto chow ice cream. I mean, the macros look perfect. The calories seem low, but like I mean, for a grown man, 2,100 calories seems pretty low, but the macros seem fine. 137 grams of protein, 171 grams of fat. I mean, everything that seems to be. I mean, I don't like to me looking at this from everything that I understand looks perfect. So there has to be something missing that I am not smart enough to see. And I mean, that's just because I don't know everything. And I'm okay with saying I don't know everything. I know what I know and I know what I've experienced, and even some of that stuff I don't know. But, like I would be frustrated too. I mean, I'm frustrated now for you. But like I said, there has to be something missing, and I don't it may not even be diet related. I don't know, but like I said, if you're doing if your macros look that great, I mean, maybe you aren't getting enough carbs. And I know that sounds like heresy, but maybe it's true. maybe you would be maybe you could be more successful at like the closer to the 20 carbs a day range, 20 total carbs. Maybe I just don't know. I mean, that sounds counterintuitive even to me with the raising of the A1C, but I mean, maybe that's the stress factor coming in. The stress of the body causing you to, break down proteins to create the glucose, maybe. I don't know. There's just I'm kind of throwing darts here, but like I said, um CGM has 105 to 130 glucose all day. Hmm. And Charlie, if you can't do the math, I'm certainly not able to do it. So we're screwed there. Coach Nicole. Maybe Coach Nicole can look at. I don't know. Do you know Brian Doyle? I don't know who knows everybody. I have even in my own life, I struggle to know that. Um, but Nicole, Brian is very frustrated right now, and it stands to reason. He said that he's been gaining weight, eating primarily carnivore, and his A1C is going up, and all kinds of stuff. So, and that's kind of what I was thinking a little bit too, Chris. Is like the fact that like as your frustration grows, that's the stress causing the frustration to grow. So it's like a self fulfilling prophecy. I don't know. And I don't know, maybe Nicole could add a little light to that as well, but maybe she's seen that. Um, yeah, because the more frustrated it's something that's probably on your mind all the time. And you're probably thinking about it all the time, cortisol and all that stuff. And it's because, like I said, stress is a hell of a thing. Yeah. Mm. Oh yeah, and I agree 100% with Chris here. It's like I mean, it's a tough nut to crack, right? Like, but that's the beauty of this community is you're important and you matter. So that's the point, like never think you're a burden asking too many questions or dominating a chat or anything like that. I think us being here to help you, even if we're giving you the same answers everyone else has, I think it's still, I think it's one of the things that's so beautiful about this is, we'll talk about this as much as we can, try to nail down that problem because, I know where frustration leads. That kind of frustration only leads to like a self-destructive type of place. And, like an unchecked frustration is just going to lead down a path of where you're like, you end up saying, screw this. I'm done. This isn't working. I'm done. I'm going to eat my body weight in Doritos or whatever. Right. So, yeah. I had a heart attack on March 22. So I guess I will admit that stress when I see my blood pressure going up in proportion to my weight. Yeah. Let's see. One counterintuitive thing to try and increase your calories to the point where fat is like 80% ratio. I've watched my weight stall trying to underconsume but drop when I eat more. Yeah, that's because yeah, so Charlie was telling us yesterday that like he's been tracking everything and eating like 5,000 calories a day and started and was losing weight. And that's the kind of a thing like a counterintuitive thing is upping calories and losing weight. Because one thing I noticed is when I was a bigger person, I was like a furnace. I was always hot, always over hot. I was always just a furnace. I couldn't cool down. Now I think my metabolism is kind of slowed and I'm cold. So I don't know. And maybe I need to increase protein and fat and there's always things you can play with. And I imagine that under eating is one of those things we do talk about. I don't know. Let's see. It's also important mindset to remember that you are worth the answers, and when, if not, you find the answer, you'll be able to celebrate it and can help others with that info. Yeah, 100%. And I can guarantee you, Brian, you are not alone in this. There is going to be plenty. Like even Chandra, she gets upset because she thinks they make her too much food, and she's like, "I'm gaining weight, and you're making me too much food. I need you to cut back and not give me so much food." So I think she has that mindset that she needs to eat less and less and less, no matter what we've learned here. And it's just one of those things I think that's that mindset that we've been indoctrinated with over the last 30, 40, 50 years is eat less and you'll lose weight. Eat less and you'll feel better. Even because I still struggle with her, but I still try to accommodate her because I don't want to stress her out either. So she's like, instead of making, only make me 3 eggs and then, like, or like somebody's like, oh, for breakfast today I had an egg and 2 slices of bacon. And I'm like, that sounds miserable. That sounds like not enough food. That sounds like what you eat while you're cooking the rest of your food. I don't know. It's just one of those things. And yeah, Chris says that higher calories has meant weight loss for him too. And Nicole said it's hard to answer without knowing specifics with lifestyle, dieting history, how long carnivore, and there are a number of factors that affect weight loss gain outside of just food. Yeah, so he's frustrated because he's gained about 25 pounds or so, I think he said, and his A1C has started creeping up again. It's like at 6.2 now, and he's basically eating carnivore. And even if he had the occasional like jalapeno poppers or asparagus, that's not enough to where I think it's going to raise your glucose that kind of level. He said his glucose is running like 100 plus a day at any given time on a CGM. So, like, you know, let's see. Diane is saying that throwing out there that if you take a medication, it could have been a supplier change. Different suppliers have different ingredients. That's definitely something to factor in and look at as well. Nicole says the one thing I would suggest is dropping your fat a bit, upping your protein. Could be too much fat. You're consuming 1,500 plus calories from fat. And Charlie is saying the big thing is to stay curious with the mindset, trying to slightly different to achieve different results. That's one thing that I would recommend as well. Like, is I'm not giving advice here, but I think not allowing yourself to allow the frustration to run your mindset, because while you are frustrated, not allowing that to rule you is going to be the biggest advantage you can have here, and relying on us, the community, and talking with anybody and everybody who will listen. And because eventually there's going to be somebody who's in the same boat as you and has similar experience and has hopefully kind of moved past it and had found a way to get through it. And yeah, I mean, because I would, like I said, this just the frustration, unchecked frustration, and it is gonna be, it can be the biggest hurdle to overcome, because then it could lead to a lot of things that you don't want it to lead to. So, um, let's see. The easiest thing to do would be to up protein about 160 grams, decrease fat a bit, and try that for about a month and see if that helps. Um, and Brian said he's down to two. He's down to two meds, and he says he's not. That makes me feel a lot better, because one of the things is if I can't answer a question and then you stop coming and you stop being involved in the community, then I feel like I'm a failure, and that's not what I want. Because, like I said, I'm not here to give anybody advice, but I'm here to give support and make sure that we are a strong community and that we're able to be there for each other. So that's the one big thing. So I worry about the frustration level, because I understand how I feel when I get frustrated. When I get frustrated, it's easy to just throw in the towel. That's where I was for so long. I was just frustrated and I was gaining weight and getting fatter and fatter. And I was like, well, this is my life, and just shovel it in because it makes me feel better until it doesn't. And I appreciate you, Brian. I really do. Thank you. And I'm glad you are here. It's hard to really give solid advice with taking with you and one on one, and hope all this helps. Yeah. And the most important thing is the experience is remembering being frustrated is normal, but being hopeless and pessimistic can poison your mind quickly. We're all here 100%. And I think that that's one of the things that I think runs so rampant with us today as a society is we just like, well, things are bad. Can't do anything about it. You know what? I mean, why try? Nothing's going to get better. But I think we're here. We've made that step to make sure that we are better, that we are doing something every day to get better. Like what semi-retired Bob always says is try to be 1% better tomorrow than you were yesterday or today. I'm butchering his quote. I apologize. But always try to be 1% better. So, like I said, if I am giving any advice, I would say if you had success doing one thing and then you led into something else, I would go back to what you were doing where you were having success and kind of start tweaking that a little bit as well. And listen to what Coach Nicole is saying. I think everybody has, and everybody's coming from the right place. So, you know, eventually we'll figure this out. Well, that's the thing is I would say that I think it's more negative to keep it to yourself. 1,000%, because you are a positive person, and bringing it up and not allowing it to poison yourself and poison your outlook and everything is going to be the most important piece. That's the only way you're going to get any help, is reaching out and asking. And you're not a burden. You're not negative. Coming into this and being frustrated is totally normal, and it's not negative. Because what to me would be negative is coming in here and go, well, it's not working. I'm giving up. I'll see you guys. See you guys around. I'm out of here. So, yes, 1% better today, tomorrow, every day. So every year you're getting 365% better. I am so glad I didn't decide to go to sleep and not do this today, because this has been amazing and I'm really enjoying, all of your company, and I had a great day yesterday hanging out with everybody, and getting a chance to talk with Joe and Rachel, and they really are just fabulous people. They're just so sweet and kind, and as all of you are. And I'm looking forward to KPL. We should be seeing the full list of speakers sometime in the next week or two, hopefully. Now, typically, I would be talking about make sure you are going over to Autumn and Richards live after I am finished, but they are not doing any lives this month. So they're not going live this month. So there's nothing to go watch after this. I will be taking a nap after this is over, because yesterday was a very, very, very long day, and I have a lot of work to do today, but I need to take a nap first. I've got family dinner tonight. I'm making chicken thighs. The kids are bringing sides. I have no idea what they're bringing, and I imagine it's going to be a nightmare, because they're going to bring things that I'm going to want to eat, and I'm not going to, or at least fingers crossed, I don't, right? Because most of my kids are not keto. They're not keto. They eat Taco Bell and all that stuff, because that's, of course they do that because they're, our youngest is 20, and he has he works at UPS and works nights and does whatever he wants. On a positive note, I finally figured out how to make carnivore plates out of cutting boards on my CNC. Yeah. Carnivore. It's like everybody who eats like their steak on like a wood cutting board. How do you wash those? 'Cause you don't want to put them in the dishwasher, right? I mean, most of the time they probably won't even fit in the dishwasher. Yeah. But I think today, folks, I'm going to say goodbye. I appreciate each and every one of you being here today. It really means the absolute world to me. And I want to thank all the members, everybody who comes in and hangs out and chats and brings such joy to me because this is really, really an important day of the week for me. It's one of the best days of the week that I have. Spending it with you guys and having my coffee. I didn't even finish my coffee today. It means I was talking so much. I didn't even finish my coffee because some days I'll finish it in like 45 minutes and some days it lasts to even right now. Mm. But thank you all so much to the members, all of those of you who come and hang out with me and who are subscribed and all that fun stuff. And thank you, Chris and Diane and Brian and Charlie. Thank you guys so much. I will see you all later this week. I love you all. Have a great rest of your Sunday. See you soon.